Welcome to Chaos Divided, your weekly dose of WholesomeHammer, where we explore the hobby, the game, and the lore of Warhammer 40k. We're your hosts, Nurgle Snurgle and BlushingNoiseMarine. This week, we're talking about how to build an army, from the road to your first 2,000 points, to some of the things to consider when starting a second army, and how to build out a larger collection. It's time for some Warhammer-nomics. And we're proud to partner with Inclusive Financial Planning for this episode of Chaos Divided. Now, there's not a lot of economics quotes for Warhammer, so I figured...
What were you searching? What keywords?
I was trying to find like a guard quote or something about like the importance of logistics at least, and everything was just like more tanks. So that was the closest I got, and I was like, well, the other thing is like knowledge is power, maybe. So we're gonna go with an Isaac Araman quote, which is "The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance," and that's from the novel *The Thousand Suns*.
Mm-hmm.
It's close. I don't know. The more you know, the better, I guess.
Like, yeah.
Rating is fundamental. I don't know. I'm pulling at straws here.
Who are the math geeks in Warhammer?
Definitely the Thousand Suns. They like, especially in the Heresy, like they're all like the enumerations, and they're all like, we have to take very like, there's like almost like a mathematical quality to their rituals. They're big nerds.
So they'd be good at Excel sheets in today's age.
I'm pretty sure Isaac Araman is like an Excel overlord. He knows how to use VLOOKUP without checking again.
Now I want that to be an army.
It is. The Thousand Suns are an army.
Well, I mean, like a modern Thousand Suns as today's age. Like at a computer, at like a cubicle, at like...
I mean, that does exist, but they run Predator drones, so okay, it's a little bit of a... We're getting a little off topic already, getting a little dicey. Or if we get shut down, it was the Department of Homeland Security in the States. They found us.
Because we're talking about cubicles?
Because we're talking about math nerds doing war. That's, we're getting a WikiLeaks soon. But first off, I wanted to thank everyone who has joined us on this journey over the last few weeks. We're both incredibly touched by how many of you are tuning in and getting excited for each episode. Truly, thank you all. It's been pretty incredible watching some of the growth that we've been seeing and how many new people are listening in. And just we've been at this for a few months now, and it's startling how many of you are tuning in each week. And just from the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, new people. No, it's been a blast. Like we've talked about it several times, where we come to the mics and it never feels like a job. It never feels like it. Just we look forward to it every single week, and we do love the feedback that we've been receiving, and we continue thinking of you guys. And this is for all of you that enjoy it week by week.
It's definitely one of the top points of my week every week. So
yes.
So yeah, thank you all. Now to get into some Warhammer nomics. So I'm a little worried because I'm a bit of a finance nerd. So I feel like I'm getting my other hobby out of the.
You're worried. I'm worried.
You're. So whether you're just joining the hobby or you've been playing since Rogue Trader, there's something that we've all got to contend with, which is that this ain't cheap. So, no matter what faction you play, it's not cheap, but there are definitely some factions that are maybe a little rougher on the old pocketbook than others. Looking at you, Guard and Gene Stealer cults.
What would you say is like an entry amount that someone would probably spend? For
those armies?
Yeah.
I think you're over 1,000 even to get 2,000 points. $1,000. Now I will say we're going to be talking Canadian dollars, so like take like 20% off. If you're American, take like 30% off. If you're British, and if it's euro, it's around the same point. Thanks, Brexit.
But if you're Australian, don't you 2.5 times 2.5?
I don't think it's that bad, but yeah, they're like 20% more, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think you're definitely over $1,000 to build a guard army of like any type of like competency. Like I don't even know if you can build a 2,000 point guard army without spending $1,000.
On models
Yeah,
alone.
like I don't even think you like even if you bought a bunch of big stuff like, and I'm talking like buying a Bane blade like, and then trying to fill everything else out around that. Like I'm not saying building a good list even. Like I think you're close to $1,000 for a guard army. I think Gene Sealer cults are worse.
Ooh.
Tau are rough as well.
What do you think's the cheapest?
I think Custodes are like one of the cheapest.
Mm-hmm.
Space Marines are usually cheaper because you can get so many like bundles with them. I know Tyranids used to be rough. I think because of all the new monsters and everything now, it's a little bit better.
I'm surprised by that. Because before I got into the hobby, Blood God had a bunch of bits. He had some Tyranids, and I noticed there was a ton of Tyranid bits. Lots of arm, lots of like, not so much the bodies, but lots of guns and stuff like that. So I'm surprised.
They used to be very much a horde army, so you would have to buy a lot of kits, and they like Termagants and Hormagaunts are not a lot of points. It's it's the same issue as Guard, where it's like a lot of low point models, and like they're not any cheaper. Like a box of Space Marines, is the same as a box not that much more than a box of Guardsmen, and you've got like 150 point difference. So, like cultists, chaos cultists are not that much cheaper than legionaries, and that's 145 point difference between those two kits. And I think they're $10 difference.
I'd be interested to see like a tier list or a chart of how much does it cost per faction for $2,000, or sorry, 2,000 points of that army.
I think there's only a few you can get to in under like $500 US now.
And we're talking about just from GW, no, obviously 3 third parties.
Like I think you can do it with Space Marines if you get creative. I think you can do it with Custodes, and you might be able to do it with Knights. Some of the big Knights, and like there is some like value bundles with them where you can kind of like what is it, the two I was just looking at it, the Chaos one is like 2 War Dogs and a big Knight, and it's like $300 Canadian if you can still find one kicking around.
Do you think if people knew the price of what a faction would cost, that would alter their decision?
I mean, I think you get into it in like pieces, right? Like, I mean, I was able to, this was using a discounted site. When I started my Emperor's Children, I bought 2,000 points, and I spent $600 buying it, I think with a 15% discount. And it wasn't even necessarily the most point efficient way of doing it. So Chaos Space Marines, I think, are close on like being able to be bought cheaper. Demons you might be able to pull off with some of the like, some stuff is like middle of the road, but they're cheaper kits. Like the greater demons are so expensive.
They are. And if you do go the other route, it's going to be like the guard thing where you're going to need a lot of models. Like it kind of turns into a horde.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of some of the like mid-size like Khorne stuff, and Tzeentch has some like middle of the road. Nurgle does too, like Beasts of Nurgle.
True, very true.
But
Beasts of Nurgle are the most expensive per model. I was going to say it's like $55, I think. Now,
when they were more points, it made more sense. Yeah. Now they're not so great. But I think that's what you see a lot of Custodes players now, because it's a cheaper army to get into.
Yeah. to kind of foreshadow, I have 18 Beast and Nurgle. They are not all from GW, and I'll share some tips and tricks to make it cheap.
And there are like legal ways of getting there cheaper too. It's not just like going on the dark web or anything.
Oh, what?
So there's some basic ideas that can help you guide you when it comes to making your purchasing decisions. So, of course, keep to a budget, and that's like, you know, it can get exciting, especially like building your first army. You're like, yeah, I just want 2,000 points like today. I want to like get there. But like the models you buy, once you've bought them, are not worth as much if you want to trade them or sell them again. So make sure you're like ready to make that purchase and that you're like committed to what you're buying. You know, adding to that pile of shame or that pile of opportunity might feel exciting in the moment, but it's not easy on the wallet.
Yeah, exactly. You have to know what your budget is for this hobby for sure, because it can just sweep you under a rug. Like it just comes out underneath you, and before you know it, you've got a lot of models.
Right.
But I'm interested more, I guess, because you bought a lump sum. I don't think I've ever bought like something that's over $500 lump sum of models. I was more of like a gradual buy. I think some people might find themselves that way as well, where they buy a model here, buy a model there. So, what do you think is better, to buy as a group?
I think so. That's how I built my Tau, was like more like buying over time. For my Emperor's Children, I wanted to just kind of have that 2,000 point base. And as we talked about on the previous episode, I'm pretty good at getting things built and at least battle ready. So they don't tend to just like sit in boxes. So it's, yeah, for me, I was comfortable doing that because I knew I would get it on the table. And I had kind of a goal. So like I had that on the table within 6 weeks of receiving it.
Impressive.
It wasn't all battle ready by that point, but it was at least built and on a base, and had been primed, and I was working away at getting it painted. So I knew I could do that. But I did also make some mistakes. Like I definitely bought, like, I got really excited by Chaos Bikers, and I have 9 of them, and there's almost no situation where I would use 9 anymore.
Was there a time that you did?
I used them a few times. Okay, so in 9th edition, you could give them that -1 to wound relic.
Okay.
And they were tough 5, which in 9th edition was quite a big deal. So they were actually really hard to shift, and if you had 9 of them, they would just like sit and take up like almost a table corner. You couldn't get past them. So they would like completely choke up. Yeah, and they moved 14 inches. You could auto advance them 6 inches, so they moved 20 inches and would just like sit there. And a lot of armies couldn't get past them. So
did you take a lot of engage?
Well, it was hard to get them like actually in a table corner because the bases are so big on them. They like almost take up the whole table corner when they're like spread out. But it was fun to play them that way. It wasn't necessarily good to play them that way, but it was fun, and that was what counted.
Yes.
So yeah, and like since then I've added on to that army. Obviously, I've bought new models, so like I haven't done like a big bulk buy since. But yeah, I like thought about it for almost 2 months. Like I had like built a lot of like fake lists and like tried to figure out like, okay, what exactly do I want to get out of this?
Yeah, you discovered your commitment to it.
Yeah. Like I spent some time thinking about it. It wasn't like a like Saturday morning I decided I'm gonna buy this army, and then Saturday afternoon I placed the order.
Yeah, because like I guess where we're coming from is, and why we're talking about this, at least where I'm coming from, is some concern for some people. Like I don't want people to overspend in this hobby. Like find your comfort zone, because like I said, it can get away from you. Like if you I've seen it with some people where it's like the rent's coming, but they really want that new model, and it's like,
Yeah.
as a friend, I'm gonna have to tell you, you should probably like worry about your rent. Like, I care about you.
Well, and I think like it's a new edition. People are excited,
Mhm.
and there's new people coming in. So like I think it's really timely to be talking like how to do this in maybe a smarter way, so
Yes.
you don't like,
Yeah.
because the money side will burn you out.
Yes. And yeah, and we definitely don't want to see any of that.
Like you don't need to be like, stressing yourself out through the rest of your life over your
Or
hobby.
crippled. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, the Warhams will wait while you like.
It'll always be there.
Exactly.
And we'll welcome you back with open arms.
And as we're going to talk about later, there is some like cheaper ways of getting in and getting to still play and not like absolutely blowing the bank.
Yep.
The thing that I think is really important, and there's always the temptation to chase the meta, but buy models you love. And that is hard to follow sometimes, but like follow what you love, follow what you think is cool. Like if you're going to buy a model, it's got to be like, you're going to want to paint it and like love it and have it on the table and be excited about it, not just like some competitive list.
But what if all models are cool and I love all models?
Well, that's when you're addicted. As I think we run as two hosts of a Warhammer podcast, maybe we might fall in that category a little. You're like rubbing your face and like, who me?
That's shame.
Do I? Is it? Am I the problem? Is it me?
I don't think I'm the problem.
But no, make sure you're like committed to it. You're not just buying the model because you like think it's going to be good on the table, because rules change, and buying models for rules is like a fool's errand.
Yeah, like a model's rules will change within 2 months. Like,
I'm sorry, anyone who has bought, is trying to like
Scouts?
track down some. I don't know. You could almost like, how you can tell the meta right now? You just go on the GW store, and if it says currently not available, it's probably on the top of the meta. So we know some folks do that. But yeah, like if you love the lore, like I have talked about Lucius so many times, and like through 9th he was not a great model, but I love my Lucius, and I bring him out as much as I can. Like, have that like love for the character, have the love for the model, and then like no matter what happens with the rules, you're never going to feel like salty about having it be part of your collection.
Exactly.
So that goes back to like, what, there's factions that are more expensive than others, but like if you really love them, then like it's going to be worth your time. Like we had Mike on a couple weeks ago, and he loves AdMech, he loves Mars, he loves every bit of it. So like it doesn't matter what's going on with the rules, he still loves those models, and the game will change around him, but you got that love.
Yep.
Like
love will stay.
I will stand my Emperor's Children until they get a Codex Games Workshop.
Yeah. I got Nurgle, but I like Chaos Undivided sometimes.
But I think, can we talk about your new appreciation for Slaanesh? I feel like it's coming.
It's always been there.
But it's coming out.
I've hidden it sometimes. I've always adored Slaanesh.
But you're not. You're Nurgle Snurgle. You're not Slaanesh Snowlesh. Like,
I'll always be Nurgle Snurgle, but sometimes I'll have my toes in different ponds.
For those of you that watch the Rat's Reach stream, there's a certain love for a Monarch of the Hunt that I think is leading you down a dark path.
Shalaxi?
That's their title, is the Monarch of the Hunt.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I like that. Beautiful.
See? It's infecting you. You're getting there.
Oh, I've already got like plans to
Ooh.
paint one because I have a Shellaxi.
I mean, I might have also just gotten a Shellaxi.
I know, and I want to paint yours.
I was going to ask you to paint, so
okay. Can we do a sidebar for a second? I just want to give share an idea. I really want to do like a Mardi Gras Shellaxi, but like grim dark. And if I can like learn how to like paint lace, that's like my new challenge.
Like a Mardi Gras the day after.
Yeah. No, like in the middle of the night. Like it's like 3:30 in the morning and it's like spooky time.
I love it.
It's time to, yeah.
And but you know what? This isn't a sidebar because this is what we're talking about. Like that idea is like a love of the model itself. Yes, it doesn't matter what happens with like the rules. Like that is a story, that is a theme that you can like always feel good about.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what counts.
And I'm sure that a lot of the listeners just heard that love.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I had a whole thing about talking about Necrons. No, we're talking about love of Shellaxi right now. That is way more interesting. Tell me why you love Shellaxi.
Oh, I like her precision.
Her precision.
I saw what she did to 2 Screamer killers at the same time.
You were like, interesting.
That's what a Shellaxi does.
You're like, what? Great and clean ones have strength 8 swords. That's silly. Shellaxi is awful.
Yeah, and really fast. And just so good. Yeah. Out of all the rules, they definitely got Shellaxis right.
Chaos Divided hot take, Shellaxi, best model on the table.
In the game.
Fight me. Better than a Wraith Knight. Less likely to be nerfed than a Wraith Knight as well.
But she needs to be with her boo Be'lakor because he like shields her from all the gunshots and then he teleports her.
I don't know. I've had some good luck. I played a tournament last weekend. And a Land Raider full of Abaddon is also a really difficult target to choose between. And Shellaxi doesn't get shot at that often when there's something scarier coming even faster. So,
do you go after the king or the queen?
Right.
But you should always go after the queen because she will snipe you.
I was giving some hard choices to people. It was maybe mean, but it was also fun. And yeah, when you're, I guess to get back on topic, we're talking about Warhammer Nomics, not just like, I mean, if we're talking about Warhammer Nomics, we're also talking about Warhammer. It's always great to look for some good deals. I mean, if you watch any content creator, they are usually listing to some type of discount site in your region. So like, finding the place, there's a few in Canada, there's many in the States, there's many in England, throughout the world, where you can get like 10-15% off. Usually it's a bigger order, but it doesn't take a lot to get to a bigger order of Warhammer. And yeah, if people are selling used models, you know, you can always turn somebody else's pile of shame into your pile of opportunity.
Yes. And you know what's interesting is how far models can go. I'm going to tell a little story. We have a friend who is from Alberta, Matt. Hi, Matt. How did he get it? He somehow got a model from Jay. Like it was just like passed down from other people to other people. And they got together and Jarrett was looking at the models and he goes, "Where'd you get that?" And Matt's like, "I got it from so-and-so." And Jarrett's like, "I painted that."
Wow.
So there's like, you gotta think how many models are in circulation now through buy and sell. Like it's almost like money now.
Well, I know like people aren't like where we live, like people drive a few hours for a good deal. I've
or they'll ship them across the world. Like it's I think it's super cool. And I think that's why one of my giveaways is the Grit and Clean one. This is going to be a past giveaway. It's already done. But I wanted to like give one of my models to someone so that it's somewhere in the world.
Was it the one that was on your head?
No, not that one. That one stays. No, it's a mini Great Unclean one. So Jared purchased this 3D printed Great Unclean one. I guess talking about economics, we will also be very wary where you get some of your 3D printed models because you may get a misprint. And we got a misprint. And he thought it was going to be like a giant Kugoth Great Unclean one. And it ended up being like demon prince size. Like it's on a 50 mil, maybe 60 mil base, but yeah, it's
I love it.
So
it's a moderately unclean one.
Exactly. Half a clean one.
a slightly unclean one.
So I painted it while I was watching Heroes Brush Hour, and I thought it would just be a perfect gift for my celebration of like the 7,777 followers. It's just perfect Nurgle. It doesn't mean much to me because it is a misprint, and it was just something fun to paint, and I just want to gift that to someone. So yeah, like there's a lot of models that will circulate this community.
Well, and you know what? That model probably means more to you now, having given it away, than it did just owning it.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to share the Warhammer love.
Yeah, and now I have to part with it. Sickness. Yeah. Spread the love like a disease.
Oh. Yeah, Nurgle. I know what that disease is. But it's true. There's always great options out there, and there are value packs. You know, we're just coming into 10th. The Leviathan box set is, you know, a discount.
But heavily, like, what was it? Tyranids has 47 models on the Tyranid side. Like it's,
and I think the point value is higher on the Space Marine side.
It is, yeah.
Like I think the Space Marine side is almost 1,000 points.
Yeah, and when you think about it, a Primarch or a big demon is like $180 for a single model.
Yeah, and you get everything else that comes in it. So, like, you know, value is relative. Games Workshop is not, you know, not the cheapest thing to buy products from.
So, GW, if you want to put out a Greater Demon box with a bunch of them for a discount, yeah, I'm sure you'll get lots of clientele.
But even looking at like the combat patrols, which we're gonna talk about more, the boarding patrols were like a huge discount on some like I think the Chaos Space Marine one was like
with Abaddon.
Yeah, it was like 800 points worth of models for like not a ton of money, and like so those things come out, you know, not infrequently. You know. Any of those box sets are discounts that are worth looking at, especially like it's sometimes tough because they don't always line up with every faction. Like the holiday ones last year, I think they only did 8 of them. So, you know, you got to kind of keep an eye out for them. But yeah, if there is any type of value pack or like there is some like bigger army builder packs, they're not the easiest to find because I don't think GW keeps them stocked all the time. And if you're playing something like demons, they tend to like be a little more like mono god than you might want them to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at you, Combat Patrol Chaos Demons. Combat Patrol Corn.
It's like, yeah, I feel like we're looking at a carrot on a stick because it's like, oh, but the rest will come out.
No.
But when?
You've got your Combat Patrol. You will get no more.
Corn. I love corn.
Poor Corn. Always so angry.
I hope you got that reference. I know someone did that's listening. There's this there's this kid. It's a meme. He is at a fair and like the news reporter is asking him what he's eating. He's eating corn, and he tells the reporter how much he loves corn.
Are you talking about the viral sensation corn that like
Yes.
videos that went on for like 6 months?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think
Okay.
anyone missed that one.
Oops. Well, I just found out like a year or two ago, maybe last year.
That's how old it is. It's not that
Oh.
old.
Oh, okay.
You
I'm hip.
found
I'm
out about it
cool.
with everyone else.
Oh. Okay. Move on.
Well,
I love corn.
we're gonna take a moment to talk about this episode's sponsor now, which is not corn.
No, it's not. Yes. So yes, we'll take this moment. Okay. Whether you're figuring out your hobby budget or tackling bigger financial concerns, we can all use a little bit of help from time to time. Inclusive Financial Planning is an advice only financial planner, which means they don't sell financial products. They work directly with their clients to provide holistic financial advice. No matter your financial situation, Inclusive Financial Planning is there to help answer your questions, reduce your financial stress, and let you feel better about your financial future. You can find them at inclusivefp.com.
Well said.
Speaking of Combat Patrol,
This is going to be a very serious episode, I can tell.
oh,
Sorry, sponsor.
sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, talking about Combat Patrol, especially now, I think the Combat Patrols are actually a really great way to get a playable force because they're self-contained. Like, you don't have to try and like build a list out of them. They are a list themselves. So, they're not necessarily all tuned to 500 points, but they are all tuned to fight against each other. So, if you're looking at like, you might not necessarily in a 2,000 point army want every single unit that's in a combat patrol, but it does give you a way to play Warhammer while you're building everything else out. And they're not super expensive.
Yeah.
Within the context of Warhammer, they are expensive, but everything in Warhammer is expensive.
Yeah.
But if you just want to get something on the table and like see if you even like it, it's a much lower barrier to entry than like even getting 500 points in 9th edition was.
Well, I've always looked at Warhammer as an investment. Like, I get more from it than just plastic toys that go on the table. It's my therapy, it's my memories, it's my joy, and you can't really put a price on that. So that's why we are saying to love a model. It's because that's the real value in Warhammer.
It's true. Like I still have my Tau army. I don't play them really anymore. But I have all the memories that come with it. And, we've talked about like floor hammer before. Like, without that Tau army, I didn't, there's no floor hammer, there's no playing with cardboard boxes, there's no like
pew pew noises.
all of the railguns, they're silent. They're just magnets.
Are they really?
Yeah.
So you don't even know when you get hit by a railgun?
Yeah, there's no explosion. It's like a magnet that like fires them.
Ouch.
Yeah, it fires it faster than the speed
You're
of...
talking to me like I would know what guns do. I'm teeth and claws.
We've talked about railguns. Bellacore has a ranged attack. You know what guns are.
His is more like a spit.
I thought he made your shadow kill you or something. I thought that was his thing.
My shadow kill me.
Bellacore, isn't it like? Yeah, I thought it was like your shadow tried to kill you. Was the way it's like a psychic power.
Oh.
That's what his gun is now, because psychic powers are guns, I guess.
His shadow.
No, I thought. No, his psychic power is like the thing he's attacking. Their shadows try and kill them.
Oh.
You use them.
All I'm thinking is new Cybot now. Like, Is Bellacor's gun a shadow? I'm
Well,
so lost.
it's like a psychic because in
But that
10
makes
there's no psychic phase, so the like psychic powers are like guns.
oh.
That's what I'm saying.
But like,
That's
does
the
it come
joke.
from his finger? Like, I don't know where it comes
Oh, well,
from.
yeah, I'm sure he points. He just like points at you, and then your shadow stabs you. I don't know.
Oh, oh.
We're getting off topic.
I'm just watching Bellacord.
You're just, you're mad. You're so mad at
I'm
him. You forgot
mapping.
how he works. You know, like you don't. He didn't get his marks in the errata. Did you
I
notice?
saw that. Why'd you bring that up? I got me all riled up. Yeah. I saw the errata. You know, I went to that section first thing. You know, I'm looking for Bellacore.
I also, that was my
What?
first. I was like, they must have fixed him. No, they didn't.
They didn't hear my whimpers.
I'm aghast. I'm agog even.
I know. They even remembered to give the burning chariot fly, but not Bellacore.
That, you know what that means though? That means they intended that. They were just like, Bellacore's not Bellacore anymore, I guess. 10
Who's
editions
this
of lore.
Bellacore?
Bellacore? I hardly know her.
Who is this demon in my house? Yeah, it's very strange.
And yeah, I guess to get somewhat back on topic, trading can also be a great way to build out your collection. I know there's quite a few people around here who've actually been on like kind of trading, trying to trade up to a full army. I've noticed a few of them. But there's plenty of people out there that have like a half-started army that they lost motivation on, or they have some models that they're just not feeling anymore. Like there's looking at like local buy and sells, things like Facebook Marketplace. A lot of ads, people just be looking for a trade, and like, you know, if you're not spending cash and it's like you've got some stuff you don't want, they've got some stuff they don't want, boom, boom, boom.
Or even at local stores. There's a local one here called Monster Comics, and Blood God and I would hit there every couple weeks, and they've got bins of bits. So we would just rummage through and like, oh, there's like a sprue of, what did we find? Like a knight. So it had all the guns, and we're like, oh, we could like put that like on a forge fiend or something. We could kit bash with a lot of stuff. Or there's like Skaven, or there's a lot of Space Marines and stuff. So yeah, like not only online, but check out your local game store. They may have like a bits thing. I know some stores have done like bits bags, and you can kind of just buy it that way. So that's a way you can do it there too.
There was another store, I think they used to do like used Warhammer. They would like, and it was usually pretty like reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, you're usually not dealing with necessarily the best paint jobs. You might have to, you know, either start from scratch again, do some stripping, or like a lot of cleanup. But if you're a hobbyist
these were
who likes
straight
that,
on sprue. Yeah, these were straight on sprues. They were completely plastic. Some were painted, but most of them were in pieces.
I just meant if you're doing like trades with people.
Yeah.
You know, you're not necessarily going to be picky on what you get. You know, you're not necessarily going to feel like, okay, this is something I would put on the table. But if you're, you know, if you're into that adventure, that can be a way to save a ton of money. And yeah, this is getting maybe a little out of just like pure GW product. There's a ton of proxy stuff out there. And I think one of the first that comes to mind is like the Gear Guts Mech Shop stuff.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yes.
Those like oil can commandos are like one of my favorite models I've ever seen.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, you guys have to check out the War Mistress's Instagram page. She's got tons of pictures showing off these models, and they're almost goofy looking, but in the best way possible.
But it's like 90s Warhammer goofy.
Yes, like you can't help but to smile. Like you're looking at like what the live action Super Mario Brothers movie. Like it's just like, it looks puppetry, but in like a Tim Burton dark type of way. Like you could see these as real life.
I was almost gonna say it's like Warcraft 2 orcs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just like
Yeah.
very silly, very like,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what orcs used to be. Like
Mm-hmm.
actually I think Warhammer Community shared it recently, like the original Gazgul model. And he's just like this like short little thing with like a toque on. Like he's like really
What
silly
a
looking.
toque.
Yeah, he's got this like toque thing on and he's got like a little spear and like orcs used to be like more like fantasy orcs. Like they were just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like these like silly over the top little guys. Obviously Gazgul's a little bigger now.
A little mecked out.
But like his original model was like the size of a space marine
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like very goofy.
Yeah.
But in like an endearing way. So yeah, that stuff is like if you're into that more like whimsical orcs,
Mm-hmm.
they can be very, I don't know, every one of those models is always just like you look at it and you're just like it fills you with joy.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially the way the War Mistress paints, they're like even better. It's like you can't help but like smile.
Yeah. Oh, or there's also, you can see some of them on a Play on Tabletop battle report as well.
Yeah, I think she brought them on. And I think like Mini Wargaming has done a few like kind of proxy armies with other folks, and even outside of that, there's a lot of other like systems and games that are kind of in that like 28 millimeter scale for Warhammer. If you're a competitive player, you might have to spend a little more time getting your models approved. But I mean, if you're also a kit basher, you're dealing with the same situation. And as long as everything kind of like makes sense and is consistent, you shouldn't end up having too much issue.
Exactly. Like what you said, consistency. It's when you're building into the community, it gets to a point where you become the person. It's like, oh yeah, you're that army. Like we have someone here who kit bashes like all of his armies, and we all accept what he's intending because that's his thing. He's got like his Space Marine army. They're all kit bashed to look like superheroes. Phenomenal. All of his orcs are kit bashed. His whole Slaanesh army is kit bashed.
Are we talking about Brian?
Yes.
Okay, his orc army that's all kit bashed Space Marines is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And like it's obvious they're orcs. Like,
but he's built up a reputation where you don't question it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, as long as it's consistent, it makes sense and it's understandable for your opponent, like you're not going to have a ton of issues with it. Like where people, have issues with like proxying and things like that is when it's like, okay, that's clearly not what the GW model like even remotely is shaped like or looks like somebody's going to see that and think it's something different. Like, but a lot of these, like the proxy stuff out there is like super legally distinct, but similar.
I guess like Creature Caster, they're pretty different from the actual Greater Demons, but when they're used, you don't question them. They're beautiful. They're well done. It's obviously not something used for advantage or to break the game. They're for the love of the model.
Like if you show up and you're like, hey, my Great Unclean went on a diet and is now on a 30 millimeter base and is a stick bug and can also fly and is magic and I win the game. Like, no, like obviously like that's not the point of this, but like, a lot, especially the Kickstarter stuff, like the amount of stuff you get, and obviously do your homework, be careful with it. Like Kickstarter is not a guarantee, like, but some of that stuff has been like a ton of plastic for like what you're paying. And for some of those pricier armies, like I think they're like what is it? The Damned was one of the recent ones. The like Chaos Guard army that was like super like affordable if you got in on it. And I think like and the models looked great. So there's some cool stuff out there.
Yes. Just gotta find it.
You gotta do your homework. And I think that's the kind of the important thing to think about with a lot of this is just like making sure you've done your homework, having the knowledge to bring it back to Armin.
It's full circle. It's like the snake eating its own tail. Oh my god, it is a 1,000 tons thing.
Are snakes their thing? What?
Isn't it the ring is...
Oh, maybe yeah, that is their thing. Is that a snake?
I don't know if it's a snake, but it's some sort of reptile.
Huh.
Like
I don't think I ever processed what that was.
It doesn't have feet.
No, it's a snake.
I saw the stunned look. It was like, what? Oh.
It's just like always, I'm just like, oh, that's 1,000 something, and thought like no further. It's like, no, I don't know what that is. Just like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in Warhammer, and sometimes you don't think about all of it, and it never really.
And then you do, and it like blows your mind.
Right. And this is one of those moments. This is happening live. You're welcome, everyone. Yeah. So there's been some ideas. Obviously, you know, Warhammer is expensive. There's no way to like make it like free. Everything has a cost. Even if you want to get into some of the like printed stuff, obviously like there's cost to that as well. You know, sometimes that can be cheaper if you know somebody who has, you know, or there's somebody in your community who has some legal templates that they use. You can get some cool stuff, which I would say kind of falls into that proxy category. But yeah, that can also be kind of a good way to get some stuff that like maybe isn't as available or has changed. Like we were talking about, like if you like kind of that older style of Warhammer that's maybe a little goofier, a little sillier, it could be a way to get stuff like that, or get something that is like a different concept but similar vein. I don't know. Be creative. That's the whole point of this thing.
Yeah, and the great thing with 10th is you don't have to buy the rules. Like,
yet
you can spend that money on. Don't say that. although, rumor has it there's a battle scribe. It's coming for 10th, so that's another cheap way if you need to do some warhammering.
I mean, the app is free still, so we're in the clear right now. But yeah. There's plenty of ways to like save some money and kind of make it a little bit easier on yourself. Even just borrowing an army, like to try it out, like get a feel for it before you get too deep. Yeah,
and like our store here, the Deck Box, they do a great thing where they supply army store armies for people to try out. So that's another like cheap way. Maybe your local store does that as well.
I think a lot of the Games Workshop stores, or Warhammer stores, I think is what they're called in other parts of the world, do that as well. And like it's a way to like get a feel, or even just like borrow a few models. Like if you're not quite sure, like try it before you buy it. Set up a game, and like I did that with Abaddon. I didn't buy Abaddon at first, and I was like, I can build an army without Abaddon, and you could not in 9th edition. So then I was like, well, I still want to play a couple games. I went in and I was like, hey, can I borrow the model? And got a feel for it. I was like, you know what? No, this is, I got to do it. So I walked out that day with an Abaddon kit.
It worked.
It did work. But that can also be a way to like try out a list, or try, you know, if you're looking at like, okay, what do I need? Well, playing it out first is going to give you a much better idea than just like sitting on an app and being like, that sounds good.
For sure. Yeah.
It's like how things interact is important. So the important thing is that, you know, you use your money wisely. Because Warhammer never ends, and then you just keep getting more and more armies. And then all of a sudden, there's just more to get. There's new models.
Do you think you could have a complete collection of Warhammer, all the books, all the models? Or is that an impossible feat?
I want to describe the face I just made. I'm sure you could. It's like technically possible. But everything, it's what? Rogue Trader is 36 years old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like all that stuff is like I realize it doesn't like evaporate.
No.
But like it'd be hard to have like a complete Warhammer collection. I don't know. That'd be frightening.
Yeah.
I like there's a part of me that's like, oh, that'd be really cool, and it's like, but would you want to meet the person who did that? They'd be scary. They'd be like, I'd be frightened of their power. That'd be so much money.
Yeah, and constantly just like a factory. Oh, this is new. I get it. This is new. I gotta get it.
You'd have to have had other people paint it. Like it'd all be commissioned. Like it'd be. You know what?
It'd be impressive.
It would be impressive. That's what, but in a scary way. It's like it's like, you know, when someone is like too powerful, you're like, I don't understand you. I got the heebie-jeebies. But yeah, I guess it's theoretically possible. I just don't know if it has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some guy in like Britain who's just like, I've never not bought something. But then even like, what do you define as everything?
If you're out there, guy, and you're listening to this, hit us up. We'd like to have a chat.
Yes, I want to know. Like I said, I was scared, but I'm ready to be. I'm ready to be afraid. But I guess what would you even do? Is it 3 of everything?
Oh no! Right? Let's just say no. He just has to have everything. Doesn't have to be 3. He's not making an army.
Oh, I don't know. What does everything mean? The one of everything.
Mm-hmm.
What about the stamps? Does he have to have the Warhammer stamps?
There's stamps?
In Britain, there was Warhammer stamps this year.
What?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
are we talking about merch as well? Like the candles, the
I
cushions?
think we are. If we're talking everything.
Oh.
Is your collection complete?
Yeah, you're not a completionist until.
Yeah, see, no, that's too much. That's
a game I can't play.
That'd be millions of dollars of stuff.
I'm sure a lot of people have millions of dollars of stuff.
Yeah, but like Warhammer, like it would be so much.
Imagine a black market underground Warhammer trading.
I'm just trying to think. Like even if you think of like some of the big content creators, like they have, you know, huge numbers of models, and it wouldn't even scratch the surface of what's currently available.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think of like Tabletop Tactics has like them all in the background, and it's like they don't even have most of the armies.
No, because they're kind of like they're not that depth, like they're not that in depth, and like
exactly
they're not full armies. Yeah, they're just scattered models.
But that's like an organization that's what they do, and they don't have most models. Like it'd be,
but maybe they have like aisles. Like Mini Wargaming has aisles, but I'm pretty sure in those aisles is not every single model.
They could, like it's like you're talking about having like, you know, squats from 1989. Like what do we like? Yes. You're going deep. You're having the what's the Slan? Is that the frog guys?
Yeah.
Like you get real. Like, does Necromunda count?
It all counts, Laura.
See? There's too much. There's too much stuff.
There's like Underworld, and then there's Warcry, and Blood Bowl, and...
I actually, you know what? Talking about weird things to have, I actually have a weird old Games Workshop game from the 80s. It's called
like
Talisman.
A board game?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've never played it. Huh. I'm pretty sure the miniatures are made out of lead, so I've never really done anything.
Don't open the box, Laura. Do you have any Warhammer board games?
I bought, in my hiatus, I tried to get into, trying to like keep some connection. I bought what is it, Conquest, the like deck building game.
Yeah.
And never figured it out. And at the time, my wife was like, I don't care about Warhammer, so I don't want to figure this out with you.
Yeah.
And it was like Space Marine versus Orcs, and I was like, I'm not feeling any of this.
Yeah. Well, I got into it, but then like you could go to the Boardroom Cafe and play it, but then they canceled it like completely. And then we have Warhammer Munchkin. We have Relic.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Munchkin, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then we have Space Hulk.
I was looking at what's it called? Now I'm gonna completely forget. I think it was the Humble Bundle recently. Was like the RPG, the 40k RPG. I'm trying to think of what it's called. I think that was I think that was part of it. It was like all the books.
Oh, okay.
I'd want to try that at some point. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's like the 40k RPG, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, no, there's a ton of stuff out there. Like, it's crazy. how much, like, we're even talking like books.
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
So we'll be waiting for this. We'll be waiting for this mysterious person's contact.
Like, I have one of the novellas from the Heresy. What is it? Brotherhood of the Storm.
Okay.
I got that like 10 years ago. It was $120 just for that novella.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking big money. Anyways.
If you guys want to calculate that, you guys can also do that too, just for fun.
And let us know, and I will rant about it on whatever episode we get it for.
Here's another sidebar, and then we'll close off. But I was in a Heroes Brush Hour chat one time, and we're talking about Nuln Oil, and then we're talking about hot tubs, and then we're talking about if we filled a hot tub full of Nuln Oil, and then the question was asked to calculate how much it would cost to fill a hot tub, and it was more than $1 million.
Actually, speaking of Heroes Brush Hour, for any of you that don't follow Nurgle Snurgle, what's the thorax? I didn't watch. I don't get it. Oh my
god! Okay, so how did it come up? It was during like when you're doing this show and you're in a painting competition, time will fly like crazy. But you're also kind of playing with the chat, and there was a mention of a thorax, and then I think I said something about like we just talked about thoraxes, and then we started talking about pickup lines with a thorax, and like how would you use thorax in a pickup line, and it just went crazy from there. So it's like, oh, you got a big thorax there. I see. I know. I guess in the picture, you're probably like, what is this thorax?
I was so confused. I was like, what? This model does not have a thorax. I do not know what's going on.
That's why you gotta watch Heroes Brush Hour to know the inside jokes.
I go to bed so early now. I have a 9-month-old. I fall sleepy so fast.
Yeah, I know.
But I did want to publicly thank you because you said you were giving me that noisy boy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a public commitment. I am going to paint my first Nurgle models.
I am so proud.
I'm going to paint you some Nurglings.
Some? I get some?
Yeah.
I guess Nurglings should never come alone.
I don't want to keep a kid. I don't want to keep any Nurglings. That's icky.
Yeah. Hey. Don't have to insult them.
I will insult Nurglings.
So we're gonna do a model swap.
Ooh. See. Actually, and you know what? This brings up a point talking about like connecting with the chat. One idea that we've thrown around, and I'd love to get some feedback from those of you listening. We've talked about maybe doing like a pre-show live on like Twitch or something, stream it for folks to interact before we record. We'd keep like the podcast itself like recorded offline, but yeah, we've been talking about ways to maybe interact a little bit more and interact better. So let us know.
You can ask us questions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. and like maybe, ask some questions for the podcast or throw out some topics. Maybe
you can get like a hint of what the topic's gonna be.
Ooh, a little sneak preview.
Yeah.
So, leave us a comment, or I'll if you're on Spotify, I'll make sure the question for this episode is whether or not you would like us to do that, and if you folks are interested, then maybe we'll figure that out.
So you set up a poll for the last episode?
It was a couple ago, actually. So it's from our first impressions of 10th.
Yeah.
So it was The Doom of Others is what that episode's called. So we did have some responses, and the majority of folks were actually very positive. So I was really happy to see that. We didn't have any negative responses. There was some that were neutral, that they were kind of still feeling out 10th. But people were feeling good. It wasn't the highest. So there was like a feeling fantastic. So people are feeling good. They're having good games, and I think that's really nice to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like, we talked about this in our kind of bonus episode, like that there's our thoughts from the GT, which is a little spicy if you want something a little different. But if you get outside of kind of the maybe more rough factions to play, I think there's a lot of great interactions happening, and it's really nice to see that other people are seeing that too, that there's a lot of life in the game and there's a lot of things to love this edition.
For sure. I think I can't speak for you as well, but I think you caught it when we played our charity stream. Yes, it wasn't like your typical game. Magnus came down, 2 Screamer Killers came down, but just like the core mechanics, it was a lot of fun. There were some good interactions, and just rolling the dice and flipping to see the mission cards and interacting that way. The armies definitely feel different, so that's a different nuance to it as well. But the core of it, it's fun because we approach it with fun as well.
And I think if you haven't checked that out, you can find that on the Rats Reach Tabletop Gaming on YouTube. But it was a ton of fun. Like, I think
we were in a hot box, but
well, and, you know what? I think some of the heat might have been from that barn burner of a list you brought. I've never seen so many blood crushers. But we still had a ton of fun. Like, I think like we brought very different types of lists, and we still had a great game, which is like, I think a really good sign that there is a lot of good things happening in 10th. Like you brought a very killy list. I brought a very like objective list, and like we were still able to have a good game, and it was close. Like it was like a ton of fun on both. It went to turn 5, like, and it swung in like turn 4, like, and we were neck and neck up till that point. Like those are like the best games you can hope for, and I feel like I have had so many more of them in 10th. And that's what I'm really excited about.
For sure. Yes.
Like, I have not had nearly as many just like 90-25 games. It's a lot of like 80-70 or like 60, 53. Like, it's like they're within like 10-15 points.
Yeah.
Which is like, honestly, like, if you don't know who's going to win on the beginning of turn 4, like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Love it.
So, any other thoughts on, I don't know, the 15 topics we talked about today?
Sidebar.
Do you have another sidebar?
No. I think I've shared a lot. And it's just talking about like the finances of Warhammer can just go on and on and on. But like we've touched on, just be responsible, and you will love your hobby more if you do.
Yeah, the last thing you want to... we talked a little bit about like bringing opponents into the game, and like bringing like finances or money worries in. Like, you never want to be sitting there like playing an army and be like, oh, I really shouldn't have bought these models. Like, you don't want those negative feelings. Don't bring that in. Just like, feel good about it from start to finish.
Yes, I think that's a great way to end it.
Well, with that, thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Chaos Divided, both here and on Instagram and YouTube at Chaos Divided 40K, where hopefully you'll be able to find a new short about a great unclean one on somebody's head. And you can find us both on social media.
I do not have a flat
head. You can, what is it? Nurgle_flathead_snurgle now?
Yes.
And I am the @BlushingNoiseMarine. Until next week, bye-bye.
Ciao for now.